Anderson Silva, what a success story in many ways, right? Don't forget, a striker coming over to grappling, coming over to MMA and having success. I mean, Anderson Silva is in very rare company. Throw Anderson in there. You could throw the first guy to ever do it, Maurice Smith, in there. You could throw the first girl to ever do it, Holly Holm. And then, of course, you've got Adesanya, but it's just the four of them. So this was a bit of an experiment to take Anderson out of the sport where he gained notoriety and send him in to the sport that he truly loved, which was stand-up and striking. Generally, when a guy gets older, when a guy slows down, when a guy's no longer in his prime, the last thing the guy's going to be good at is boxing. It just moves too quickly. It's too much about speed and timing. It's too much about reflex. Generally, for the fighter that's out of his prime, Anderson looked great. Not to mention the numbers were against him. Youth, that's a real number, was against him. Size. Don't forget that knucklehead Chavez Jr. missed the weight class. The weight class was scheduled to be 182 pounds. And we know as human beings ourselves, we don't get smaller over time. So the fact that Anderson Silva was down at 182, 3 pounds removed from his title reign at 44 years of age, I mean, there was a lot on that number. What did he have to do to make that number? Did he have to eat better? Did he have to get more workouts in? Did he do both? Did he start eating better while getting more workouts in, right? I mean, there's something related to that number. And I argue for you, every fighter has a number, but very few fighters ever find out what it is, right? The promoter's got a contract and here's where we go. And sometimes a fighter will change weights, do better up in weights. Sometimes a guy gets pulled down to this catch with 182-pound business. I never knew that Chavez was scared of Anderson Silva. I mean, I would have picked Chavez in this fight. I don't know a ton about his career. I know a lot about his old man's career, but I don't know a ton about his career. I hear about him a lot for being a knucklehead, where he gets caught with the dope or he gets the DUI. I remember his first big check was $4 million. It was like in his pants, but he went swimming and ruined the check. I mean, do you guys remember these stories? Like everything I hear about him is for being a knucklehead. But I would think that he's a pretty damn good boxer. And I've seen him in there where he looked a little bit out of shape, but he understood the sport. And I remember there was even some back and forth. I want to say Freddie Roach was training him, but he wasn't showing up for workouts. And, you know, they're filming 24/7s or countdowns that day. And so this all gets caught on tape. And the guy's a little bit of a knucklehead, but he's a young guy. Not as though I'm putting him down. He's just a young guy in front of the camera. I never thought that Anderson would have had much of a chance with a second generation guy. I didn't realize Anderson Silva had a chance until I saw the weight class of 182 pounds. That's where I sat back and go, man, this Chavez is a scaredy cat. Why would you ever ask a 44-year-old coming over to a sport that he's never done and that you've done since the day you were born, and you're going to ask him to come down in size unless you were scared? I would never, ever, ever in a million years welcome somebody to come into my field that they had never done it before. I got the youth advantage. Oh, and by the way, I care what they weigh. I couldn't even look myself in the mirror. I'd be ashamed. And this came out the day before. And the only reason it even came out the day before was because Knucklehead missed the weight and had to fork over 10% of the purse, which was $100,000. So I'm looking at it going, my God, this guy is completely unorganized. 6 figures, here you go, over 2 pounds. And it's 2 pounds, by the way. You know, Anderson didn't argue for that weight class. You know, Anderson didn't say at 44 years old, let me go lighter than I've ever gone before. Team Knucklehead asked for that and still failed at it. Look, things are very different. If you ever miss a clause in your contract, but you're the one that asked for the clause, you qualify as a knucklehead.